Hey, greetings, programs. It's BC from Alloy 7, and welcome to how The Division is going to be a full-on RPG and not just a shooter with RPG elements. So where is that coming from? Well, IGN dropped a story last Friday showcasing an interview they had with The Division's art director, one Rodrigo Cortez, and I can't fully express how excited the news made me. And the bottom line here is that Cortez really tried to drive home just how RPG-centric The Division's going to be, which, for most of you that know me, you know that RPGs are my favorite genre, so that's good news. And I was really excited for three major reasons that flesh themselves out when you read the quotes from the interview, and I'm going to read a couple of them here. But I'm excited for three major things. He talks about progression, he talks about what I'll call freedom of play, and then he talks about engaging action. And then as a fourth honorable mention, he talks about ongoing play after you've finished kind of the main quote-unquote story elements. So one of the things Cortez says right off the bat is, quote-unquote, for us, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out how to tell people how much of an RPG it or The Division is. It has shooting and is shooter-like. If you look at it, that's the whole point, because we want it to be very immersive. But it's not a shooter with some RPG stats tacked on. It's actually a proper RPG from the very beginning. There's deep progression. There's that progression we talked about when it comes to loot, gear, and levels, and you'll be able to customize every skill. And here's a big one: do exactly what you want and choose roles. So that's probably the biggest communication challenge. We want to make clear to everyone that this is an RPG, and that was huge for me because, again, he talked about the deep progression. That's huge. But then he goes into the freedom. Do exactly what you want and choose roles. That's big for me because if you're used to many Western RPGs, they give you a lot of freedom in terms of what you can choose, but then limit your ability to choose it. So they'll have a level cap at like 30, and you can be a healer or an assault guy or a support guy, but you really have to pigeonhole yourself in those games because of the level cap. And I think that The Division is going to get away from that based on this next quote. Cortez goes on to say, he gives an example of you starting down the path of a healer, but then wanting to play with three friends of a similar class, and this is quoting IGN right now, not him, so you can quickly switch to something, and this is the quote from Cortez, more short range or assault or closer to the action. You can switch between offensive, defensive, and support skills on the fly. So that leads me to believe if I'm able to switch between those things, that I'm able to develop those things, those classes equally, which is something that most Western and action RPGs don't allow. They'll give you a level cap at 30, and you really better pick. You're either going to be the assault guy, the support guy, or the healer, but you're not, or the magic guy basically in a Western RPG. And you better really flesh one of them out, because if you don't, you're just going to be a jack of all trades that really sucks at everything. And I think what this sounds like is The Division is going to break away from that, which is huge for me because that's my biggest gripe. Like, I love and hate open RPGs for that reason. It's like, you give me so much freedom and then you don't let me use it, and it looks like The Division is going to do that, and that's very exciting for me. And then Cortez goes on to say, we want to keep the players playing for a long time. We don't want to do a story that ends and it's like you can take the disc and put it on the shelf. We want to keep the players enjoying the game in many different ways. So you would obviously offer different activities like PvP, that's player versus player, or PvE, player versus environment, and several progressions. And he says more after that, but that really kind of drives the point home for my fourth bullet. We've talked about the progression being deep, awesome. We've talked about freedom, and I really hope it pans out the way I'm thinking it will and what I'm saying here. We talked about the engaging action from the shooting piece, and everything I've seen from the videos looks like the shooting is very solid, very well put together. But then he goes on to say it's not just going to end there. I remember seeing an interview, I think it was GameSpot, that did a couple weeks ago, where they said theoretically you could play this game forever because of the dynamically created quests that will continue to happen in the game. And that would be really fun, to be able to still go on hunts or to be able to do missions with friends and continue to develop my characters. But that's it. That's really all he had to say that stood out to me. I'll have a link to the IGN article in the video description. Be sure to go check that out. But thanks for watching, guys. I'm really, really excited about The Division. It's actually between that and The Witcher 3. Those are the two highest excitement games I have for 2015. That's assuming that the Division comes out in 2015. It may not, but those are the two games I'm most excited about on my PlayStation 4. But what about you guys? Are you excited? Does what I said here really strike you as something that piques your interest? Have you read the full article and have other things that you can add to the conversation? If you do, please do. This is your first time here. Please hit that subscribe button and stick with us. We've got a lot of good content coming up in the future. And until next time, my friends, until all are one, it's BC, the Brain Supreme here at Alloy 7 Videos, signing off. Peace and Godspeed.